This is more than a show. This is a movement where real stories are told, where voices are heard and lives are changed. From struggle to strength, from pain to purpose. Forefront today, where voices rise, where truth is told, where truth is told, where purpose comes alive. I am DJ Quinn, bringing you the stories that matter. Only on Forefront today, only on Forefront today. I am DJ Quinn, bringing you the stories that matter. Only on Forefront today, only on Forefront today. Forefront today, what Forefront today, Forefront today, Forefront today. What Forefront today, Forefront today, Forefront today. What Forefront today, Forefront today. We're from today. Stay inspired. Stay empowered. Stay forefront. Forefront today. We're forefront today. Forefront today. Forefront today. We're forefront today. Forefront today. Forefront today. We're forefront today. Forefront today. I am DJ Quick, bringing you the stories that matter. Only on Forefront today. Only on Forefront today. We're Forefront today. We're Forefront today. Forefront today. Forefront today. We're Forefront today. Forefront today. Forefront today. We're Forefront today. Forefront today. I am DJ Queen.
I want to say good night to those of you coming on into Forefront today, CRL 365 on YouTube, Facebook, everyone around the world. This is yours truly, DJ Quinn, and I definitely want to say good night. Some of you, I got to say good morning to you, but welcome to another inspiring edition of Forefront today, where we bring conversations to the forefront that inform, inspire, empower, educate, and help people see greater possibilities for their lives. I'm your host. You know me, as some of you know my real name. Ours Cleveland Harlequin, also known as DJ Crane, and tonight we are excited to welcome a wonderful woman whose work sits at the powerful intersection of people, purpose, professional growth, financial awareness, and personal charity. Our guest tonight is my friend, my colleague, Miss Nicole Daniels. Now, Nicole is an entrepreneur. She's a strategist, a licensed life insurance professional, career development advocate, workforce development supporter, a writer, a future speaker. She has built her career around one core mission: understanding people and helping them move forward. Nicole brings experience in human resources, recruiting, talent development, career coaching, insurance, benefits administration, consulting, people operations, and leadership. Her top skills include motivational speaking, leadership, handling confidential information, consulting benefits administration and career development, client relationship, conflict management is a lot. Recruiting strategy, sourcing, and workforce strategy. Tonight, we are going to talk about her journey, her career, her work in helping people make better decisions, her passion for financial protection, and her development or developing project, Sis Please, which explores confidence, social dynamics, and the patterns that influence how women move through relationships and environments. Nicole, welcome to Forefront today. It's always a pleasure to see you. Uh, and
Thank
even
you.
now on this platform, welcome to Forefront today, Ms. Nicole Daniels.
Thank you so much, DJ Quinn. It's a wonderful opportunity. Thank you for having me on tonight. I'm very excited to share with you and your viewers. So thank you for having me.
Awesome. Well, we hope the folks that are coming on in will share the broadcast because and come with your pen and paper because I'm telling you, you can learn a lot of things from Nicole Daniels tonight. So before we get deep into your professional journey, Nicole, let me start by asking you this. When people hear the name Nicole, and there's a lot to names, your parents name you for all kinds of reasons, from a film star, from an actress, all kinds of things. But when people hear Nicole Daniels, what do you want them to know you are beyond the job titles, beyond the resume, and beyond that LinkedIn profile?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's important. I think that anytime that you're asking someone about what they are and what they can become, it encompasses so much more than what your resume is, what your job title explains. So I really want people to understand tonight or feel from me tonight that I genuinely care about people. I care about their well-being, their interests. I care about developing them and moving them forward. Someone who's naturally curious about everything. So I'm constantly asking questions so that I can get to learn the person. Perspective is huge for me. So when I have an opportunity to introduce myself and what my passions are, I first want to start with the genuine care about the well-being of what people do. And I've encompassed that with my careers and my ventures and my pathway from very early on into where I'm at right now.
Yeah. Now, people. No, first me, I'm hearing you. I was thinking that maybe you worked so many years with all this maturity that you have, all this professionalism, and come to know that you're just celebrating a nice ripe birthday the other day in the month of May, born the same month as I did. And so,
Absolutely.
yeah, but you are definitely a pro. And Nicole, one of the things that stood out to me in your statement that you have built your career around one core thing, understanding people and helping them move forward. And that's a gene that most people don't realize they have, helping people to
Absolutely.
live their full potential. And you
Absolutely.
have that gene. But powerful. That's powerful because many people have jobs, but not everyone has a mission connected to their work. Talk to us
Yeah.
about where that passion came from, Nicole. What was there? Where was there a moment in your life that your education, your career, where you realized that helping people move forward as part of your calling? Because I honestly believe it's a calling for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Very early on when I started in my career, I worked in the financial industry. So I was kind of thrusted into this position that I thought was going to be just an admin job, answering the telephone, doing some customer service things, and then realizing that the career that I engulfed myself in was one that was, was one that people had to think very hard about, make very clear decisions about. These were topics that weren't always comfortable at tables that looked like mine. Um, I realized that when I started the industry in finance, that insurance became not just a passion of mine, but realizing that around all of that, there were people who needed it to prepare. They were calling in crisis when they were having some of the hardest moments of their lives. They were making decisions that were going to impact family members far beyond, their time of being here with us in the present.
Mm.
So as I thought I was just taking this customer service job, I started to realize the industry and what I got myself involved with, and it would expose the empathy in me and the curiosity to the importance of why we needed to plan around, our future. So early on, when I thrusted myself into that position, I wasn't really sure what I was expecting. So I think it opened up my eyes initially to what I was going to be experiencing and how I wanted to help people. So not just in the financial industry, it was also the health insurance industry. It was having conversations with small business owners and nonprofits, people who worked in, just trying to make it day by day with us. So I was really in the struggle with everybody while I was learning, about myself. So it was really important. So I was exposing that as I went through that career, that sector, and then I followed it all the way through. So I went into the recruiting, into the HR, and so I was able to pathway through that. But I aligned in that way. It was always going back to helping people. It was always going back
Yeah,
to just
yeah.
being in that spot.
That gene, man, that
Yeah,
HPE, helping people to live their full potential gene, man. I think I find
absolutely.
it all the
I
time.
like
And you're the
that.
people that I bring on this platform because I know what you're going to say tonight is going to help someone. And that's the impact I need. I don't need the likes and loves. I need the impact. And so the impact is why I brought you here to make an
Yeah,
impact for people. So Nicole,
yeah,
your educational background includes psychology from Point Park University, and psychology gives people a deeper way of understanding behavior, right?
yeah.
Motivation,
Sure.
decision making, and human relationships. So, how has your background in psychology helped you in your work with people, especially in HR, coaching, insurance, and consulting?
Yeah, I think if the most important thing in psychology or just being able to have that therapeutic approach is just being able to understand and meet people where they are. Challenging the belief system that was ingrained in us. So having that challenge in that healthy way. But it definitely helped, navigate, all the way through that process for me. And I think it was important for me to have that experience and that college experience to be able to, um, like I said, understand a little bit more about being empathetic to people and their circumstance and looking at perspective and understanding really what people are truly going through before a judgment is made, hearing people and listening. So, psychology, you sit and you listen. And so I think that helped me a lot through processing. I was able to have a conversation with someone without already having the answers or just letting them expose themselves so that it can kind of lead naturally. So I think psychology helped me verse myself in that way.
And I would suppose that you applied active listening when it
Sure.
comes to that, one of the soft skills I know, like 15 we know about. And so how was active listening so useful for you in that time?
Absolutely. It's very important that, like I said, that you stop and you just clear the space from anything that you have perceived or anything that you just have to listen to what that person is giving you. So active listening is very important in any conversation that you have. It's just giving yourself the moment, giving them the moment without having any predetermined responses. So it's important, and you'll use active listening all the way from, college all the way up until my ripe old age of my birthday that I just celebrated. So it's an important attribute
Yeah,
to have.
awesome. Happy post birthday to you and me. Uh, yeah,
Yes.
we still can celebrate for the rest of the year.
You got it.
Uh, yeah, we have to be in a celebratory mood all the time because life is
Yes.
still good. I want to dive into your career development and workforce strategy skill set because you have this background that includes talent development, career coaching, and workforce strategy. And you have worked closely with individuals who are trying to make career decisions, grow professionally, and understand their skills and figure out their long term decision. Many people today are working jobs, but still feel stuck. Some are underemployed. Some are afraid to start over, Nicole. Some have gifts, but lack confidence. Some have education, but need guidance. And some have experience, but do not know how to market themselves. From your experience, though, what are some of the biggest struggles people face when they're trying to move forward professionally?
I would say themselves. I would say that sounds very basic to say, but I would say themselves is where I would start. Being in the role of HR and recruiting, I've seen lots of different professions cross my pathway. I've seen people all different ages trying to figure it out to pivoting and trying to refigure it out again. To me, it's rarely about, the lack. They don't lack the ability to, right? They have the ability. We are an overeducated society, or educated, yeah. So they don't lack the ability. They lack more of like understanding what they've accepted about themselves, right? And needing to get people to understand that the confidence about being in a room is already more important than if you never stepped into the room. and giving yourself small wins and small credit. So I think that when I'm sitting across somebody and they're having these pivots, some people have degrees that they thought that they had their whole lives figured out. They're sitting in my office for a completely different career that they never thought they would do, but because of circumstances and the way that life has approached, they have to make these pivots and these changes. And I've noticed in my interview style is allowing people to be okay with that and giving this space to just know that you're navigating these experiences and you have a lot of education or a lot of knowledge. And I don't think we also consider that. I have to tell people all the time, part of that is my sales background, but I have to tell people all the time that you didn't just start today. You've had verse practice. And I can tie this into some of your life experiences that will allow you to feel more confident when you walk into an interview, when you walk into a space that you're not sure if you're ready, or you're not sure you're educated enough, or you fit the AI description of what that's supposed to look like from an employer. So we're battling with a lot of things right now, but I would say confidence is probably the biggest thing that I think people need to take away and understand that we're all trying to figure out. Even the interviewer, we're all trying to figure those things out.
Yeah, I heard confidence, and I believe
Yes.
that is one of the words. That is one of the skill sets we learn even in our homes growing up. Some of the soft skills we learn to be confident in ourselves, but we have to get that skill from somewhere. But Nicole, when you coaching someone around career planning and goal setting or decision making, what are some of the first things that you try to help them understand about themselves?
I would say the thing that that they would need to understand more about themselves is what is this end goal? Is it for the right now? Are we looking to move forward in this? Are we trying to grow in this position? What is the immediate need for what's happening right now? And I think that it's important for them to take that moment to make sure, or just like I said, it wraps into confidence a little bit more than what I'm trying to dig into. But I definitely believe that if I'm having those conversations with them, that they realize where they are, where they're trying to get to, and how do we get there? What's that ultimate goal look like? And sometimes it's a gap filler, right? Sometimes it's not always, it may not be the full picture, right? But exposing what you can get out of this, or why this is something that you're attracted to in your position, or why you're going after this, is something that I think is really important.
Awesome. Thank you. I want to say welcome to those of you coming on in. I see a lot of folks are coming on in and saying good night to us. Say good night to them, please, for me, Nicole,
Yes,
Deborah.
good
I
night.
see
Hey, good
you,
night. Yes,
Aviola.
of course.
I
Hello,
see Val
everyone.
Hines,
Yes.
and I see Desiree Jordan is watching. And folks, you don't only watch, you might have a question for this professional. Please feel free to ask a question, and don't leave me here the only one to ask these professional questions, because I don't know
Absolutely.
everything. I don't know everything to ask her either. And so please help me out that I might ask her a question that might impact you or your children, or somebody in your church environment, your community. We are trying to make a collaborative impact here by edifying ourselves and others with what we know. Nicole, you have supported individuals with career readiness tools and professional development resources, workforce programs, and identified skills and strengths. For someone listening tonight who feels unsure about the next career step and advice, uh, is not forthcoming from people around them, what advice would you give them? What advice would you give them about a career path right now? If someone coming to you, what's some of the first things you want to know?
Yeah, I mean, it just depends on what we're looking at. I mean, right now, I talk to all different types of, I talk to leadership all the way down, to just our regular customer service positions, or our customer service positions, I should say. And what I would, the biggest advice that what we need to do is allowing ourselves to be okay, allowing ourselves to make these pivots, allowing and knowing that what I think is fascinating about people, or our younger generation right now, is they're unapologetic about careers. We were told when we were older that we needed to stick into a career, find that, don't leave, don't go anywhere. And what's happening now, these young children are challenging the career sector and themselves. and they're going in saying that I have this skill set, I have this is what I can bring to the table. And I think that employers are starting to pay attention to that and listen to that. And also, I have a great example of this. Um, I have a very close friend of mine who she would put her resume out almost every year just to see what that felt like, just to keep herself very active and very current. That way, she's prepared if something like this or a crisis does come about, or they have to make a pivot. Because in this day of where we are in our careers, and what we thought was stable is not as stable as we thought any longer. So it's 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 moving with the times, understanding that longevity in a career is wonderful, but so is flexibility, and and being adaptive to what is happening, because we have to stay current. We have to stay, and I say stay ready, right? You should always, we think about what we brush our skills up on all the time, right? What we practice and what we do. And I think that our resume and how we represent ourselves, and how we apply to positions doesn't always have to be in a moment of scarcity or a moment of crisis. So it's a beautiful habit to adapt, maybe for every year, going out and sending out your resume and just seeing what that value add looks like. See what your worth is. Is it competitive? Because sometimes positions can keep us stuck, keep us, comfortable in a way that is not beneficial to us.
So I believe you would agree with me that self-awareness in career development is very, very important. Uh,
Absolutely.
yeah. And when we talk about workforce development, we are also talking about economics, right? Family stability,
Sure.
confidence, and future planning. How do you see career coaching as more than just helping someone find a job?
Yeah. Um, and this is why I like the current work that I'm doing right now with the youth, is because we're trying to intercept some of those beliefs and what they're competing with in this market right now. So I think that when you're looking at the younger generation and just trying to help them maneuver through this process, it's the sooner that you can start to be curious, right? I always tell the youth that I meet now, it's, I need you to start with the dream. I need you to start with the idea of the maybe. When I find children who, or the youth that I work with, that don't really have an idea of what they want to do, right? I take myself back to my space when I was thinking about where I was, and I didn't have the opportunity to really think about, oh, what I wanted to do when I grew up, right? Life was happening around me, so I didn't have the opportunity to have some of that when I grow up, fantasy. So I found that to be a bigger struggle for me as I, progressed through, through my school age years. So when I talk to kids, when I talk to the youth, it's really given direction. It's really trying to figure out what brings them joy, even because now the possibilities of what they can do, um, far supersede the five titles of what our parents told us was going to be sufficient work for us for the rest of our lives. It looks much different now. And I think that that's the freshness that the kids bring in. That's the freshness that the youth bring in, is that they're breaking the mold of the box of what we of what these of what what the quality of our careers bring us, because they're not always buying what we're picking and putting down. You know what I mean? They're not always doing that any longer. So I say start young, start to be curious about it, ask the questions, um, and who you have around you. What are they pulling from you? I talk to them all the time about their social media platforms and how much they're interested in that. You should have a partner who's also interested in your GPA and how you're doing in your planning, and if they're pulling out great conversation like that. Because I will my one of the things that I believe is so important is this, that one good conversation. That one conversation can completely change your life, can completely change what that whole projection, what the whole direction of someone's life is, if you just speak up. And that's one thing that we need to encourage our youth to do.
Nicole, I just thought about this where you could really help folks that are coming from abroad, like from my country, the Cooperative Republic of Guyana. Is it 83,000 square miles, Nicole? A beautiful
Absolutely.
place. You ought to make it
Let's
your
go.
bucket list to visit there sometime.
I think that
You
sounds like a good
you can
idea.
definitely pass as a cousin. Some of my cousins would think you're a family member.
I would
Uh,
hope so. Yes.
yeah, yeah. But
Beautiful
folks that are
representation.
coming from places like
Yeah.
that, Trinidad,
Yeah.
Barbados, students, young ones, and adults. A
Yeah.
couple of things. They're coming from there.
Hmm.
They're young,
Hmm.
entering high school or middle school.
Yeah.
So they come from a foreign country, entering a middle or high school, and then let's look at the adults who are coming, who we know are over 50
Hmm.
plus.
Hmm.
Speak to that population if you can. What would you, how would you advise them when it comes to ageism, and climatizing in the school environment, middle and high school, and just that cultural, adjustment when it comes to finding work within this working environment?
Yeah. That's a tough question. It's a tough question because what the authenticity of what gets brought to America is something that should be embraced. Our young youth goes through so much, anyways. Being here and trying to adapt with the American or the Western lifestyle that is moving around them faster than they can absorb. Um, so what I will say is that, again, I'll say start with the conversations because they're important. There's a lot of similarities that we don't maybe that we don't recognize, or that we're so busy with our own lives that we just don't see that there's a parallel in this, that we're almost, even though maybe foreign to the land, that we feel the same. So having some of that conversation, especially when we're talking to the African American population that is here, bridging that gap between what our struggles are to believe what the struggles are would be from someone who's traveling to us. um, we have a lot more similarities than we have differences. um, I think that work ethic is very important, but I think that also trying to socialize is also something that, becomes a little bit more of a shockwave because we are inundated by, again, the social media about by the very fast trending moments that we all go through. So the advice that I would give um, to a student that was coming over would be that we're in it together, and trying to adapt and stay focused with the pressures of what their culture wants to portray versus what our culture, and those differences. And again, I think it more comes in the social dynamics of them. Um, but I think if it's starting to have those conversations, to know that there's not many differences between us. There's not many differences we can learn from every conversation that we have. And those ages, those middle school ages, are quite hard, anyways. They're battling with their own, trying to navigate their own bodies and feelings and everything that is happening inside, anyways. So when you try to navigate all of that on top of just trying to socialize in a system that looks, I'm assuming, to be much different, even in disciplines. Um, that could be something that needs to be navigated. But working with the population of students that I work with, and just because America has become, or is, this mixing bowl of all different types of communities, anyways, we are way more alike than we are different, and embracing that would bring a lot more forward movement and togetherness than what is happening if the divide is there from us not having those conversations.
And so I like it when you're addressing the part of mid and high school, but I want you to remember to address ageism for me. And ageism in the workforce, we are over 50. A lot
Yeah.
of our folks are
Yeah.
migrating to the States
Yeah.
who are over 50, and they're skeptical of going back to work because, and even people coming out of the military right
Sure.
here,
Sure.
returning citizens over 50. This skepticism of going back into the workforce because people might not want to hire me because I look old. I feel, I
Yeah.
feel young, but my age is going to show in my beard, in my gray hair.
Yeah.
How do you support people 50 and over when it comes to uh, developing new skills and
Yeah. Yeah.
helping them on a pathway?
Yeah, sure. I mean, ageism is real. regardless near or far. It is definitely something that we start to navigate, especially when we have uncertain times. So when you're coming in and need to do something different and pivot, now you realize you're being interviewed by someone who is half your age, and not only being in competition for the actual position, but you're also being interviewed by someone who's much younger than you. Um, I would say implode the box, right? Stop thinking about even at some of the obstacles that we know are there and are very much so relevant to our experiences. Um, we lead by that a lot, and we put those things in front of us and make those things that are very much so obstacles. But I believe that you have certain fits, you have certain people. I always say you'll find the person who needs you, you'll find the employer who represents you the same way that you'll represent them. I think that it's a real obstacle, but I think there are a lot of real obstacles when we're going through, especially in the land of AI. I mean, we're not walking through the door anymore and able to use our smile and our personalities to get the position. We're no longer walking in with a piece of paper for a resume and asking somebody if they have any open positions. We are being stopped at AI. We are being stopped at systems, and systems can get very complicated because it takes out that human nature side of things and it removes it. And so, for where we would have that human interaction with one another to be able to have that, now you have a system that goes, yeah, you just don't fit the bill, So then you have that. So again, you will find our market, in our industries, that there are, again, employers who are looking for that type of work ethic, that type of structure, that type of, and that's what the 40s 50s year old brings. That's what we bring, as a different dynamic of work. We're regimen, we work hard, we stay late, right? The young ones are like, it's 5 o'clock, you don't pay me, it's not 5:01. So there are some ups and some downs, and I think once we embrace what our challenges or what we have made our challenges, we can kind of maneuver through those obstacles, because we already know what the writing on the wall is, right? The writing on the wall is that I'm older, yeah, I'm more seasoned than some, and then maybe I've traveled and I'm not from here, right? So then there's those obstacles. But I know that certain industries, I know teaching has been breaking the mold in this. The teaching is recruiting internationally. It's a wonderful system that they have adapted. They have great resources to be able to bring things through. And depending on experiences, I know that I have interviewed several people that I've used their accreditations from other countries, right? I have used their resumes have spoken volumes. That the work and the professionalism is going to speak for itself. It's just finding the right fit. And we are going to hear some no's. We are going to get some judgments. There are going to be some employers that do that. But I tell people all the time, we're not just getting interviewed. We're also interviewing them, right? They're not the end all of the answers of what they think they're even missing. And a good person who's recruiting will be able to identify some of those things that we feel like are obstacles and think that they're wonderful attributes to have.
Awesome. Thank you. I hope you guys are taking notes on that. I think you guys who come from overseas know that you have to come with extra. Come with your matured attitude. Come do an extra, because you know the disadvantage already coming from a country outside of the USA. But Nicole, your professionalism journey includes roles such as human resources, generalist, people operations coordinator, and human resources director. You have worked in spaces that require leadership, confidentiality, conflict management, staff support, onboarding, compliance, employee relations, and communication. I'm telling you, the whole gamble. People may not always understand how much responsibility HR professionals carry. What did your time in human resources teach you about people, workplaces, culture, and leadership?
It starts at the top. That's what
Mm.
HR taught me. It starts at the top. Um, when you walk in as an HR professional, in any magnitude of what that title brings on, it is a top-down situation. It's never vice versa. So it taught me to look at leadership before I look at the lower level employer, what they would call the lower level employee. It's how the system is running, what the mission is, what they believe in. That was one of the highlights of the biggest things that I seen as far as needing to have hard conversations with leaders, people in positions who believe that they had the credentials for sure, right? They had the educational backing, but they lack leadership skills, basic leadership skills, which um, is very important. It's almost like a classroom teacher. You can have the education to teach, but if you don't have the behavior management, no one's going to be able to listen, right? That's not going to happen. So I think that in my HR career, I had to have hard conversations and navigate that with people who um, were already in a very high level leadership position, to let them know that it really does start from the top, and how you manage that, or how the operation is moving, you'll be able to identify at your very lowest level of employee, because they are going to be a tug and pull, a reflection of what you are and what you represent. So I think that was the biggest thing. One of the biggest things that I got out of it, or learned to have those conversations when I sat at those leadership tables, to let them know what that looked like. Um, but HR was a very interesting. I spent a lot of my career, almost 10 to 15 years, in the HR sector, from recruiting. I can remember going to tabling events and meeting all different walks of people, and exposing, just in conversation, what would be a good fit for their next pivot, even when they walked in for something that was completely different. It was exposing and letting people see that in conversation, right? Now you have a whole different sector of industry that you didn't even think that you could touch. And so doing those recruiting and seeing what that looked like for people, like I said, it's not the best time in the world. Some people are recruiting because they are exploring their options, but most time people are going out to interviews and to those tabling events because they really are in need of finding something, a better opportunity, something that's going to help. So I take that with a lot of fragility. I'm very, I can, I empathize. I've been on the other side of that table. I know what that looks like. Um, so HR has given me a full scope and a full circle of what the appearance of somebody could be, right? Because the appearance of a leader could seem to be all of the checks and balances are matching. But for some reason, the people around them, the environment doesn't have joy. The environment doesn't have vibrancy, collaboration. You're just there. People are on their own silo, right? They're not working together. And then I've seen, the exact opposite of that. I've seen, people working in, operations bring a smile to faces to people who didn't even want to walk through the door, but was just excited about seeing that person say, "Hey, how you feeling today?" Those kinds of things. So it's a full circle. HR gave me a very full circle look at what that looks like with people's personality types, being able to navigate those personality types, being able to pull people when they're down, being able to interview people on a higher level, and you can tell they walked into their very first very high level executive interview, giving a calming, face, a calming smile, being able to identify with people.
Wow. One
Yeah.
word I heard from a lot of that is joy. Joy
Yeah.
at work. Did you
Yeah.
work on making sure that there was joy around you at work, Nicole?
Gotta be. Yeah, it just gotta be. It brings out so much more, right? The weight of the world is on all of our shoulders already, right? It's just for that moment to be able to put things down sometimes and say, let's work together, let's pull each other up, let's work for a common purpose, let's get these things accomplished. But joy is you have that. Sometimes you have that one bonus employee, right? Might have my deadlines late sometimes, might not be able to get me what I need all the time, but man, that charismatic personality draws people and awakens and brings vibrancy that if you're lucky, you'll find someone like that in your organization, and they'll help the others thrive. They'll do what some of the other ones can't do at all. So joy's important. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
In HR, I'm going to stay in HR a little bit more because I know that's
No
your
worries.
perspective. In HR, you often deal with people during sensitive moments, conflict, transition, performance concerns, personal challenges, and workforce issues. How did you learn to balance compassion with professionalism?
Sure. Policy. Sometimes policy helps, right? Sometimes policy helps because emotion can get involved and then work doesn't get accomplished, right? So when you're in conflict, first you have to, again, navigate where that actual conflict and listen to them, right? You mediate both sides. You understand what both sides are they stating their case or whatever they believe to be. But at the end of the day, when we think about why we're all here, right? We don't want to lose the mission. We don't want to lose the why. We don't want to lose why you're here. So what you can do is fall in policy, right? But inside of that, instead of that just being policy number, and you go through your policy book and your manual, what you can do is you can reframe the conversation around it, and you can reframe the differences. And sometimes it could be emotional. So that's a different conversation. If we have a conversation of, hey, I don't like how they're talking to me, I don't like how they're addressing me, completely different conversation and mediation. Sometimes you can't go with just policy because it is very emotionally driven. And normally when you have those problems, the easier ones is just being able to fall back on the policy, right? To be able to fall back on the actionable item. And I do this with my children, the kids, all the time when I work with the youth. They come in and they're like, oh, Coach Daniels, they don't like me. They're going back and forth with one another. And then we go back and we refocus. What is our purpose? Why are we here, right? We wouldn't have these conflicts if we were focused on the mission. And the mission is to make sure that we have the appropriate grades or what we're trying to accomplish in that day. So I always try to reframe the conversation, because we literally can sit in a space, right? We can sit in a space that just becomes heavy for just not the environment, for yourself, right? And that becomes a burden. So that's how I like to navigate through those things. Yeah.
I like that. I like that.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Hey,
Folks are still
very
coming
welcome.
out in. Good night to you, Miss Rhonda
Hey, good
Penn.
night,
She's the
everyone. Good
president
night.
and CEO of Carbon Girls Mission of Hope, where she is a leader and definitely making an impact with women around the world. So welcome to the platform. We got a question coming in also from Abiola asking how to effectively set and execute your professional goals. I guess she want to take us into goal setting. How can you effectively set and execute your professional goals? You want to tackle that one for us?
Yeah, sure. What I love is the question is how do I set them? So that would be the first thing, right? Normally we go in with our feelings, or how motivated we are, but our motivation fails us, right? Because some days I feel like I'm gonna charge through the door, and then other days I don't feel so much like doing so. But what we do very well is that when we regimen, right? We give ourselves patterns, and we are able to, just like we have to get up for school or get up for work every day, we have to get up and do certain things. We've pattern recognized and put forward the things that we thought was important. So what I think is that when you're goal setting, the most important part is set the goal. Write it down, because at first the goal can become this big. It can seem like it's put the goal down, the biggest part, and then from there we work our way down. From there we take it step by step. From there we take it day by day, sometimes minute by minute. But if we go based off of our motivation, it won't always get us there. But goal setting a step by step regimen, simply just like if we wanted to work out. We know that we can work out and be very motivated that day, right?
Yeah,
We can be
yeah,
motivated, yeah. But then some days we just don't feel like it, right? But if we stay regimented with the goal and we set expectation, it could be I want to run a mile every day, but maybe that day I don't feel like it. So on days I don't feel like it, maybe I'm going to take a walk around the park. Maybe I'm not going to do something. I'm going to scale back from what I think is so big, and I'm going to make it so small that it's going to be hard for me not to achieve it. Taking one step forward towards the goal is more important than not doing anything at all.
yeah. It makes a lot of sense. I hope
Hmm.
Abiola that answers your question.
I hope so.
Good night to you, Miss Maureen John. Good night to you, all those of you who are
Thank
peeping
you
on the
for the
outside. Please
question.
come on in and say good night to Miss Nicole Daniels.
Good night,
Good
everyone.
conversations, right?
Yeah.
This is where storytelling comes and make an impact for you all. This is for you all. So please come on in and meet my guests. But Nicole, I want to touch on confidentiality. How important is confidentiality in the work that you've done?
That's the number one thing. The number one thing is confidentiality. People have to trust you. I think confidentiality isn't just keeping quiet. It's a trust factor. It's being able to navigate the information that was given to you, and hold it before you disseminate. right? So sometimes some of the information has to be disseminated. You would know that, and I believe that you absolutely know that because we're mandated reporters, right? So as a mandated reporter, sometimes there's conversations and things that have to happen um, that they're hoping that is secret that that you have to do in the welfare or the well-being of, right? So um, confidentiality within the organization is important, but transparency is almost just as important, right? So a big topic always comes up when you're talking about confidentiality when people go to resign from their positions. This is like one of the biggest ones that I get with that. I didn't want to tell my employer because, they're not gonna, I can't stick around, they're just gonna let me go anyways. I don't want them to know. I needed somebody to know. So there's this small window of needing to trust somebody because now you need to move forward and you want to go somewhere. You want their well blessings, right? You want their well wishes. But then the other side of that is you're becoming very vulnerable, right? Even when you go to speak about a manager, you become very vulnerable to the allegation or very vulnerable to the very thing that you're trying to report. It is my job to, in HR, in anybody's position, is to disseminate gossip, right? From or disseminating information that wasn't supposed to be shared to what needs to be done and what could be shared at the least possible without violating that person and what they told you. So there's a thin line between that, but being transparent about even being transparent to the person once they do expose whatever needs to be exposed. Hey, listen, here's the information that I'm going to have to share because you put me in the situation that I have to share this out. But however, I'm going to give you an opportunity to maybe share it before I need to, or this is the way that I can frame it so that we're both comfortable in having that. And that'll happen in a lot of different experiences other than just HR.
Thank you for that. We learned some things tonight. Thank you so much, Nicole, for all these nuggets you drop in. I hope people are taking notes. This is serious. But what would you say to leaders who want to build better workplaces but may not understand how much emotional intelligence matters? We're talking about another soft skill, emotional intelligence. People try to overlook these soft skills. We got like 15 or more, but these are very important ones in our workforce development areas. Emotional intelligence. What would you
Mhm.
say to leaders who want to build better workplaces but may not understand how much emotional intelligence matters?
Yeah. I mean, that's the very thing that frames a great environment, a great working environment, is having the fortitude, the emotional fortitude to be able to take on um, the different dynamics that are going to be moving inside of an organization. Um, most leaders, and I would say, most we're not great at everything. Yes, we're not great at everything. Maybe leadership and what you're great at is building the operational movement of something. And maybe there needs to be a buffer in between what that experience needs to look like for your employees when they walk into, the workplace. Um, Understanding that also, employers need to understand the sacrifices, right? That an employee makes to show up and to appear and to be, you know, to come to work and to put on their best behavior and to put on their best face. So having emotional intelligence is very important. And I think sometimes leaders believe that that's a pass for them to excuse because of their stress or their workload or how they feel about their day to day. I think that they can also bring those emotions into the workplace that makes it very uncomfortable and not a safe space for your employees to be able to speak and have a healthy working environment. So um, I think that finding out working styles, right, without being abrasive in a position that you feel like you're entitled to have, um, it's going to have to do with a lot of self work. That's a lot of things that, would have to come in from just being able to identify, approaches. And once you can identify approaches and understanding that having to be able to read a room and understand what all of that looks like helps you lead because your title is leadership. And so that is very important to encompass all of those abilities to actually function as an effective leader.
Awesome. Thank you for more nuggets. A young lady comes on my radio program and she talks about, I got issues. Yeah, I'm in a million. And she has her Facebook page also, I got issues on Facebook. And one of the things she said was, she was perturbed that a young lady who was working in the hospitality environment, she
Mhm,
got fired suddenly, abruptly.
mhm,
And she was concerned that we have this responsibility to give 2 weeks notice when we want to resign from our position, but the employers can fire us willy-nilly at will.
mhm.
What is your take on? And she said, look, I don't think you need to tell anyone that you're leaving the job, find another job, and just leave when you're ready to leave. What is your take on that? And that policy? I know we have this policy manual, but as an HR, I'm not going to let the HR people hear what you say when it comes to that. What's the best advice, best practice when it comes to that?
Yeah, that has probably followed me in my 20 years of experience, and even in office managing all the way up to my HR title, right? So that definitely has followed me. I've been on both sides of that situation. Um, what I will tell people is that self-preservation is important, right? Um, Understanding that, positionally, we believe we really do give our employer a lot of us, and we expect or believe that they have that same loyalty to us. Okay, so our relationship already is a little different. We don't, business owners and employees, we don't exactly mirror one another. We mirror each other when we're getting to the main goal of creating money and flow for the business, but we don't have the same loyalty when it comes to um, self-preservation. It looks different, right? So, and per the example is that employers are going to do the best they can to pay you, right? They're going to pay you what they feel like they can pay you, and they can all still get something from it. So there's this reciprocal, I hope I've done enough type of conversation. The problem is that we know that it's not enough, right? That there's an absorbent amount of money going up to this organization, and there's not so much going down to the employees. So when you talk about having those types of loyalties, I think that, business owners, leaders, they should all take that into consideration. I almost want to say chalk it up to the game, but I know that in the HR world that would be frowned upon, because again, the HR side of me would give much different. The HR side of me would say, of course, you need to give your 2 weeks, right? But I've also sat on the side where I've worked with business owners who you give it 2 weeks from, and they're like, pack up your stuff. And you're like, excuse me? And they're like, pack up your things. Now, there are certain protections to that now, because now when they walk out, they have that too, that, telling you to just go is forcing you the way out. So there's a finesse that these business owners are trying to maneuver through, right? Because if they let you go earlier, then now they let you go. It's not now by your resignation. It's now by you need to go, just go now, so they try to, hold that over you. So I the slippery slope to all of that is that you stay as professional as you know that you can walk out the door and accept, right? You know what you have gone through, you know what your experiences were. You want that employer to wish you well, and you want them to have the best thing for you, right? You hope that they have, but you've seen that turn on you as well, right? They're happy that oh, congratulations, congratulations, Nicole, you can't even walk in the office, no one's looking at you any longer. Or the room went silent after a day, after the congratulations dissipated. So it can be it's a trick, it's a slippery road. It's a slippery slope. I would say to you, definitely um know that you don't want to spend lots of time in a career only to walk out to not be able to get your professional references, but then also understanding that the employer is also holding that to you as well, and so there has to be that healthy balance. So I say that I think it's a case by case situation. I would never tell a person to not make sure that they protect themselves any more than I would tell an employer. I think that an employer needs to be more versed about the fact that they would be left without a position. I think that it's part of being a business owner or an employer, um, because people are out here doing the best that they can.
Thank you. I think that
Yeah.
that seals it. That seals it. That's good
Good.
professional advice. I think I spent enough time on human resources, and I know you don't want to remember that, right? You want to move away from that for good, right?
Just
Let's
for
go
a
into
bit. It's a lonely space in there.
lonely space,
It's
right?
a lonely space in HR.
I understand. I
Yeah.
empathize. Let's get into equity now and mission driven work. Um, you work with Equity Now Inc. Also stands for, it also stands out in your career journey. Equity Now's mission is to discover, plan, and implement innovative solutions for building equity with a focus on financial education, key adult education, social, emotional learning, academic development, and pathways that help people grow. I'm like that. And that mission lines up with so many things we discuss here already, here on Forefront today: education, empowerment, equity, and access. Tell me, Nicole, what did working with Equity Now teach you about community impact and creating pathways for people?
Oh yeah, certainly. So that organization was quite surprising. It, the organization represented something that I've been looking for in my career for quite some time, and that was just to have someone represent and align not only with my mission, how I believe, but also mirror the way that I looked. It was important for me. I came from industries that didn't always represent myself in the way that I looked. So going to an organization that had a mirroring response to that was one that I thought that would be very beneficial to uh, the segue of where I was going. It aligned with my position and what I've done in my HR positions in the past. So the alignment inside of that organization fit perfectly for me as well. The representation just looked a little bit different in consideration, and their focus driven because of the organization and how it was established um, did definitely align with finances and economic growth and community and what that looked like as far as representing our community.
Hmm. We're still in Equity Now. Equity Now also speaks strongly about financial education
Yeah.
being accessible to everyone. They have highlighted the importance of understanding money, breaking
Hmm.
patterns, and
Hmm.
realizing that our money
Hmm.
habits tell a story. Nicole,
Hmm.
when you hear the statement, your money habits are telling a story, what does that mean to you?
Repeat that last part of that, Ruben. Sorry, or DJ Quinn. Sorry about that.
It said when you hear the term, uh, your money habits are telling a story, what does that mean to you?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It means how does that conversation happen? Where did it start? How does it happen from the beginning? So what was instilled in you? How did those money habits shape you? What is happening? What happened? What did you watch? What did you experience? And where is that moving you forward to this point? So your money habits absolutely shape and design everything and how you're supposed to maneuver through, good spending habits, having all of those structures and systems in place to be able to make sure that, that you're reaching your financial abilities, your strengths.
Many people think that financial education is only about budgets, saving, or investing. But sometimes money behavior is corrected or connected, I want to say, to fear, self worth, survival, childhood experiences, or trying to feel powerful, Nicole. How do emotions affect the way people handle money?
Yeah, from the conception of what is taught at the dinner table. Um, a lot of how our spending habits and a lot of how we maneuver through and have those conversations about money um, is uprooted and it from what my community, from me, from my table, what my table looked like, those money habits, those money conversations came from very stressful conversations. Learning money habits weren't always the healthiest. Money almost was looked at as like something that was bad, wasn't attainable, made everybody feel sad, wasn't ever enough. Those were the conversations that were happening um that as I started to transition and move through. So I think that it's very important to have conversations. It's very important to educate yourself. It's very important to open up the conversation with, I don't know money, I don't understand money, I don't know the conversations to have about money. Um, the very things that we learned about money has been practiced and given, and that's how we, maneuver through our childhood all the way up to our adulthood. But it is our it I strongly always suggest that we educate ourselves about what makes us feel uncomfortable about having those conversations. What does that actually make you feel like when you have those conversations and you start discussing money? Because it's a fear driven. It can be very fearful to have those conversations. It can be the very thing that stops us from having those conversations. We don't always want to share some of those hardships that we have. So opening up and having the conversation of, I don't understand how money works, or I don't understand, you say savings, but how? Where are we going to get that from? How are we even going to start to have those conversations?
So definitely financial education can help people move from survival thinking to future planning, you would say.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's important. It's important to have the conversations with just not the people who are around you, but educate, read books, go on podcasts, right? Look up information, find people in the community that you want to learn from. Don't be intimidated by the money, right? Have the conversation. Know you deserve the money, right? Know that it can align with you, and that you're very much so deserving of it. Um,
Awesome,
so
awesome.
yeah, absolutely.
Life insurance and financial protection, Nicole. Let's dive into that.
Sure.
You are also a licensed insurance professional. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Um, in accident health, life, perhaps variable life and variable annuities. Is all of that you do? Okay.
Hmm.
You
Hmm.
also worked with AFLAC, where you built client relationships, educated clients and employees on insurance products, conducted outreach, supported accounts, and helped people understand complex information. So, life insurance is one of those topics people often avoid until it's too late, Nicole. Why do you believe that life insurance is an important conversation for individuals and families?
Because we all got to have the conversation, because it's going to happen. The conversation has to happen either way. So the conversation is either going to be, we don't have life insurance coverage to cover this, or that we do have life insurance coverage and we all can now stay in our moment of grieving. Or not just life insurance in the manner of the catastrophic, right? Let's talk about the illnesses and the other side of those things. So I always tell people, life insurance, if you listen to the word life insurance, it's called life insurance because you can use and use life insurance in different ways than we have been exposed to. So understanding what the term means, understanding why it's important to have, um, is probably the first conversation that I like to have with people, about understanding what are we running away from. The conversation has to happen regardless.
Hmm. And what are some of the misconceptions that people have about life insurance?
Yeah, so I'd say the first thing is that life insurance is only going to cover death.
Hmm.
That's the biggest thing. Life insurance can have actual value inside of the policy. It can
Okay.
give opportunity, for to have a living expense. You can borrow from your life insurance if once you understand how life insurance actually works. So there's also a living benefit on top of a death benefit inside of life insurance. So that would be one of the biggest misconceptions, is that life insurance can work very much so in favor for the right now moments, for some of these moments that we don't plan for. Um, so, and that would happen in some of the policies that are written. Those are different types of policies, but that's the benefit of how you can utilize life insurance to work for you, or to be there for you in the moments that you need them the most.
Hmm. But was there a personal experience, a family conversation, life lesson, or some early exposure that made you say, this is a, this is something that people need to understand? Was there some
Sure.
trauma or some experience that made you think of, I need to be part of this conversation?
Yeah. Like, very early on, you watch, the you lose family members, you sit at that kitchen table, you hear different conversations of trying to figure out how to pay for, how to come up with, how are we going to move forward? What are we going to do now? Um, those are some of the conversations that I can remember being mirrored, as I grew up, right? You have those types of conversations, or you see those types of things. I wasn't involved in those conversations. Very early on, when I started my career and I walked into that office thinking I was going to answer the phone for customer service, is when I realized that this is something that was going to become very much so a part of my life. Um, and believe me, through my journey, it has not been easy. Being a life insurance agent and looking, the way that I look in the population that doesn't truly believe or doesn't really understand that this industry. And when I joined the industry, of course, it was with someone who didn't look like me, um, but didn't have to have those conversations of importance of life insurance. It kind of was understood. And so in my mind, I started to think like, wow, these conversations are happening and they don't seem to be as hard as the conversations are in my community. And so I decided to jump out there and try to serve my community, only to be met with such resistance of non-understanding, right? I don't understand it. I don't want it. How am I going to be able to afford it? There's a lot of stories behind the why nots, right? But I've also sat at dinner tables and tried to suggest to just purchase or see a policy, at least listen to the words that I have to say, and then experience people go through very, very sad illnesses that debilitated, right? Cancer that you could have used your life insurance benefit, right? At that moment, you could have used some of that policy money to be able to help during those moments. There's policies that protect people from when they have some of these illnesses that will, we think that death is the worst, right? That's what the inevitable is, right? We think that, oh goodness, that's the worst. But imagine being diagnosed and you're the person who your family relies on, and now you can't work anymore, right? Or now you need to take 5 or 6 months off to have treatment. So those were the impacts that were around me. I found myself screaming, to for anybody to hear at that point, when you sit around a table and you watch the tears fall from people, or you watch those things happen, and you could have helped. It was like, what could I have done more? How could I make anybody see more? And so I walked through that journey, and so I you didn't start to look at it like, what am I selling? What am I doing? It was more like, look at the impact. Look at what happens when somebody doesn't have it. But then there's the other side of it. I have a son, and he played sports, and we were at a game, and he had a very tragic, and he had a bad injury to his leg. His leg was done. It was some of the worst injury that the doctor said that they seen, and we were going into surgery. And I remember picking up the phone to call my insurance agent. It was the second phone call that I made after notifying my family, right? It was, I don't know what I'm going to do with these doctor bills. And it was, Nicole, you have a policy that we can tap into. And I was able to firsthand see how policies work. I was able to see what that looked like, to be able to have a policy that was going to help with the gas, help get me to back and forth from hospitals. So those were the types of things, that became impact, that was getting me to drive the force of saying to people, how are you protecting your family? How are you covered? And as I journeyed through in my 20s, it looked much different than it does now in my 40s, right? It looks way different now. And now it looks like, how am I going to leave legacy, right? Can I leave money that my son is going to be able to have, that he's going to be okay when he needs to pick up the phone and go, hey, mom, I need to borrow money, and mom's not, right? There's not that phone call any longer, right? But I was able to now set up some legacy, some generational money that he was able to say, okay, mom might not, right, be that phone call, but man, did she set me up? Man, did she help me? Man, did she know that this was going to happen along the way? So those were my driving forces. And that's the reason why I became passionate about what I do. I became passionate about helping people prepare. Became passionate about pushing the envelope of conversations when people say to me, I don't have it, to ask why not. And that's how I got where I'm at.
So the people that I want you to talk to are the young adults.
Yeah.
For them to understand in their teenage years or the 20s about money protection, insurance, and long-term planning. What would you say to those that population of our teenagers?
Yeah. And even if it wasn't in the insurance, I could say to them, man, if I would have just contributed to my 401k a little earlier than I decided to when I was in my 30s and 40s, because the numbers look much different when you're in your 30s and 40s and you're contributing to your financial planning than it does when you're in your 20s. So everybody will say, get that head start. I hear people all the time in the industry say, if I only knew what I knew in my 20s, what this would look like for me. And I'm going to even take it a step further. I'm going to take it a step further because our current administration right now has just set up a fund, without going into too much detail about our current administration, but they set up this fund that was going to help, that parents could contribute to now. So they would be able to put in $1,000. The government says we're going to give the $1,000. We'll be able to give $1,000 per month. You guys can contribute. We're going to contribute. We're going to give you this $1,000. We're going to put this in a pot and we're going to let it grow. You can't touch it though. Neither can kid. No one can touch it, right? No one's allowed to touch it. But by the time they're 18, if they don't even touch it at all, that money has grown, right? But if you do decide to touch it, look what the money will look like if you do. So the earlier that you get started, the earlier that you plan, right? Even with life insurance, they tell you don't get it when you're old, because when you're old, you already got things, right? People are already saying, you have all of these obstacles. You get into things when you're younger. You 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 ask those conversations that maybe your parents didn't understand or didn't know. Maybe you can bring them information. That's what, again, the beauty about having young adults that are interested in these kinds of conversations. With the current climate and the stock, all of these vices that these kids are exposed to, right? And all of these one-hit wonder dreams and these stock markets and all these things that they think that they're going to be able to land on, they're having some wonderful conversations. And the conversations are, how do I get there? And see, we didn't have those conversations when we were younger. We just knew we had to work. But we didn't understand what that work, what that time, what that can become. And you can become smarter about the money to make the money work for you. And that is a viable conversation. It's one worth having for you to understand. And I would say to any young adult, any young, even a family starting, have those conversations early, because you can give benefits to your children that we never were exposed to. We didn't even have those, didn't even see that being a possibility. So have them as early as possible.
Because the truth is, it's never too early to learn, but it's also not too late to start, right,
No,
Nicole?
not at all. Yeah, no, not at all. The most important thing is starting. The most important thing is to be vulnerable, to have the conversation, to allow someone who is versed, educated about the industry, and can have a conversation with you so that you're comfortable enough to trust through your process. Because no one wants to be sold, right? You don't want me to come in with a package and tell you what you need to buy. No, but what someone wants to know is how do I protect the people who I love? How do I protect myself? Especially when we're younger, we definitely can have the conversation of protecting ourselves because we have the time. And as long as there's time, there's money that's able to be built inside of that. So those are the conversations that need to happen. Young, old, and all. We get allowances. We pay our children in allowances, right? We do all kinds of things. We get bonds now. We get different things. There's all kinds of outlets and vehicles to be able to prepare ourselves. But if we don't have the conversation and we don't sit down with someone who understands, right, we're going to avoid it. We're not going to have the conversation.
Folks who are coming in now want to know what we're talking about. We're talking about life insurance. We're talking about getting yourself covered as you get older. You can do it now. You can do it now. Our teenagers can get involved even now, because, like I said, the truth is, it's never too early, nor it's never too late to start. And so we have been talking about life insurance. We've been talking about workforce um, and careers, and we are now moving into an area where this lady Nicole A. Daniels, you've also have some written work available through your by Nicole and Gumroad platform. And I want for our audience to know that your voice is not limited to consultation or conversation only. You are also putting in thoughts, lessons, and reflections into writing. So they can find your work there at by Nicole Gumroad, the platform there. But what can people expect when they connect with your writing, Nicole?
Yeah, so it's pushing the envelope of the construct of what we believe in ourselves. It's navigating waters of being uncertain. Um it's giving pathway to fear, and being able to address some of the things that we don't understand about ourselves, some of the things that we can't put into words, some of the things that we want to navigate. um, and what I love about the beautiful thing I love about writing, or working in that sector, is that it's a very private space. So I wanted to make sure that the reader identified with the fact that we do our work, the majority of it is alone. And so after we have all of our appointments and we have our phone calls with our friends, and we sit in a space by ourselves, right? And that still needs to be navigated. And our alone time can be, it can be done, in a more positive light manner to where you're actually doing the work, or it could be detrimental. And so I wanted the reader to be able to identify with spaces that we're uncomfortable with speaking out loud, and when we're not really sure to say the thing, how to say it. So I wanted to make sure that they knew that they weren't alone in some of these conversations, and that we would be able to work through that in some of my writing.
And how does your writing now connect? How does your writing connect with your larger mission, Nicole, of helping people gain clarity in their careers, relationships, money decisions, and personal growth? How does that connect?
Yeah, so I think everything I do, even from the very start when I wasn't sure what I was doing in my career, all the way until right now, I think that my
Nicole,
alignment
stop.
is.
Nicole, every
Yep.
time you step away, every time you brace backwards, somehow I'm losing your
Oh,
audio. So every time you step
okay.
backward, so watching that.
Okay, very good.
So
All right, you got it.
so go
Yep,
again.
is that fine?
Yeah, that's better.
All right, very good. All right, so yeah, I think that is, I've been prepared through like my journey. I think it has always prepared me for what that looked like. I've always been fascinated by people, what, not just what they, what they do, but why they do it. I always thought it was very important. Like, one person recognizes opportunity while the other person doesn't see it at all. So, some people move forward, some people stay stuck. So I've been fascinated just with the human, with just human development, and I've been a watcher of people, and how they maneuver through spaces. So I think it's just been that way for me throughout all of my practices. All of my careers have intersected somehow, always landing in, into that one sector of how I'm going to be able to help.
Wow. Some good nuggets to drop in here for us. Thank you so much for sticking and staying with me. And I hope the folks that are now coming in understand what we're talking about. We're
Good
talking
night,
to
everyone.
professional. Yeah, we're talking to professional Nicole A. Daniels, and definitely bringing some good nuggets out for us. Nicole, you made a powerful observation. You notice that the same challenges that affect careers also show up in relationships, confidence, self-awareness, and decision making. This is a major point, I believe. Many people separate career, relationships, money, and personal growth, but they are deeply connected. How did you begin to notice that the same patterns were showing up in different areas of people's lives? How?
Um, there's a tell, there's an exposure that people have whenever we have conversations and dialogue, and we go back and forth, and um, making sure that that they stay true to themselves in conversation, making sure that they understand where they've gone and where they're going, um, intersects between all of those things. So I think it's important that people understand, when we're trying to navigate some of those waters and navigate some of those things, that we it's a confidence thing. We beat ourselves up before we even get there. It's a giving yourself a break, giving yourself some grace in between time, right? It's allowing yourselves not to be perfect, um and having some authenticity, and understanding how beautiful, independent authenticity is. And so having confidence in those spaces are just one of those things where I tell people all the time, you're the one who's mean to yourself. If we could only see you the way the world sees you, because inside of your head, you've already gone through pretty much all of the things that could go wrong, is going wrong, right? We talk ourselves out of a lot of those things. But having the confidence to show up for yourself and understand, and you're prepared for it is, I think, one of the most important things.
Wow. Sis, please. Let's talk about that. Sis, please. You're currently working on this project, and from what I understand, it explores confidence, social dynamics, and the patterns that influence how women move through relationships and environments. First, tell us about the name Sis, please.
Yeah, so Sis Please came about in my HR office. Um, I noticed I'm speaking to the women here, so I noticed the dynamics in a space, a working environment, a friendship, but I was in my office, and I noticed some of the cheering that we were giving one another, right? We the hey sis always came in, or sis, yeah, they're always praising. So when Sis Please came about, it was a double edge kind of for me. It was like, wow, this, we're celebrating one another, right? But then when you walked away, you kind of felt this emptiness, this unsure, this was that a cheer? Was that not a cheer? Were you happy for me, or was there an underlining tone that came with that? So Sis Please is kind of like a double meaning for me, and so that's kind of how it all kind of came about, and what that means for our community, especially.
Oh, I'm going to try to pull more from that because we live in a time when many women are strong, they're
Yeah,
educated, they're ambitious, independent, and some are still struggling quietly with identity, confidence, and
absolutely.
decision making or emotional patterns. What do you hope women will gain from Sis Please?
Yeah, some self-awareness,
Mm,
right? Some self-awareness. Um, I think it all goes back to how you show up for people.
okay.
Um, and when we navigate some of those relationships that we have with one another, especially in certain dynamics. So in the workplace, what that competition looks like, right? What the constructs of what women have to compete with, not only from our own counterparts to everyone else in the world, what that appearance need to look like, who has to be the smartest, who has to be the best looking, who has to have the best clothes. We burden a lot of the ideas of what is supposed to be, and I think that inside of that, just like you touched on, DJ Quinn, is that inside we're not feeling that way. Inside we're not feeling that great. Inside we're not representing our best selves, and because it's a self-reflection, we're hard on one another, and we know that to be true. It's like the silent meaning that women go through, that I'm trying to implode, and trying to have some accountability to what you bring to the table. So I'm really just giving women the opportunity and the space to have the conversations, the hard conversations, the ones that say, I'm not that confident about myself, or I don't feel that great about myself, or hey, how do I navigate everybody else winning around me, but I don't feel like I am? How do I navigate cheering for my best friend when inside I'm not really sure I have a clue what I'm doing, or I'm trying to keep up myself? So there's a lot of things that we go through, but how do we reflect that to the outside? How do we welcome our sis? What do we bring her to the table to do? Are we here to measure her, or are we here to embrace her? And so I'm really challenging. I'm definitely uh, calling all women and challenging what that looks like for a space of women to be able to communicate in a healthy way.
And how do you navigate the imposter syndrome, Nicole? How do you? I mean, that's something that people don't realize, that we all go through that imposter syndrome from time to time. How do you navigate that?
Yeah. So, um, and it definitely affects more people than I realize. And I don't think imposter syndrome is really about their ability. I think it's about the story that we accept, right, about ourselves. And so that's what I guess I'm trying to get people to understand, is that we are truly harder on ourselves than what the rest of the world has been. So it really starts with us. And so when we're not feeling confident, um, but the confidence is going to come before the action. So we need to make sure that we're prepared, that we understand that some of this is definitely self-belief, right? And what we're projecting is normally that, right? You hear a lot of people say like, you know, that's how they feel inside. That's why that's why they're doing this on the outside, is because the way that they feel inside. So you just got to make sure that you just stay true to yourselves, and you self-reflect the way that you want to present.
Mm. I believe one day we'll hear you on TED Talk. And so I'm going to speak that into
I
being.
appreciate that.
Yeah,
Yes.
because you are aspiring motivational speaker.
Thank
It's
you.
listed among your top skills, and you are also growing your work as a growing your work as a writer and a future speaker. So public speaking is not just about standing in front of people, though. It is about having something meaningful to say. What
Yeah.
message do you feel could you could share with people, that is going to be very impactful as a TED Talk person?
Yeah. So I think that the biggest thing is that I always challenge our belief system. And I'm always trying to bust through with the limiting belief is, so that they can really get to the ability. So I think that the one thing that I definitely want everyone to hear and to challenge about themselves is ask the questions, be curious, right? Bust out of your limited belief and think about, the stories and what you accepted about yourselves. And then put it away, and then reinvent or re-explore what you are, or find out why you believe the things that you believe about yourself. So those are the things that I definitely want, people to take away from my conversations, um, to challenge, and to be okay with challenging and feeling comfortable enough to challenge that, because somebody taught us what those things were supposed to look like. Somebody instilled some of those things to us. So some of that is reinventing yourself and being okay with reinventing yourself, all the way from very young all the way to very old. Is challenge that, have the conversation.
Yeah,
um,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Nicole, your long-term goal is but simple but powerful. I would say it says help people better understand themselves, because clarity changes everything, from careers to relationship. Let us sit with that for a moment. And why is clarity so important for us to understand?
Yeah, you gotta get rid of the gray.
Come again, Nicole. You're backing away from your microphone somehow.
Sorry about that. Yeah. So you just got to make sure that you stay away from the gray. You got to move the gray. You got to move from the cloud, and you have to get to the point of making the decision and feeling comfortable with that impact. And so clarity to why you're doing it. So asking the whys, and then digging a layer deeper and saying that, yeah, I have my why, but what's the purpose of it? How did I get there? So foundation is important. And moving through and navigating in a way that you can feel comfortable, confident in your decisions, and that'll bring you the clarity that you need. And sitting in the spaces on your own, trusting yourself is way more important. You have your circle, you have your people. I believe that you need to go out and have those conversations, and then you come in and you put all of those things together. But at the end of the day, you're going to sit with you, what you believe in, and you're going to get to the answers that you need to get to be able to surface with some resolution.
Hmm. I need some advice for our listeners, some practical advice, Nicole. I want you to take this very seriously, and speak to our audience, for the person listening who feels stuck in their career. What are 3 steps they can take this week? 3 steps they can
Yeah,
take
three
this week.
actionable steps. If they're feeling, give me one more, give me it again. If they're feeling what? If they're feeling what?
If
Could you
they're
please?
feeling stuck in a career.
Yeah. Yeah. Three actionable things. First is dust the resume off. I'm
Hmm.
sure that you're feeling that way because you've probably been given this position a lot more energy than you know. So it would be the first thing is just look at the resume now, from where you stand now. So look at the resume. That would be the first thing that I would do. I would look at the resume and pull out the things that you know that you're doing now. So I would definitely make your resume current. The second thing that I would do is networking. It's very important to let people know that you're looking for new career, new pathway. I think that you should bother your friends. You should bother the people. It should become their mission to be able to help you navigate those waters. So I say, do not stand in that alone. I say that you start to have those conversations, that you're looking for new opportunity, and telling your friends, your coworkers, other people that are around you that you're looking to explore opportunity would help is going to help you. It's going to let you know that you're not alone, for sure, because I'm sure there's lots of people who are exploring, and then there may be people who also know that they can help with opportunity. So having those conversations. So prepare yourself with resume, have the conversations, and then the third thing that I would say is apply. Get through all of the no's. Apply to things that you know you're not sure you qualify for, but you're going to throw your hat at it anyways. We stop ourselves. Having opportunity for what employers are looking for cannot find you if you think you're only worth one thing. So I say go for the big grandiose position that you're like, man, I don't know. I don't know, but it sure does align, but I don't know if I have the qualifications, but I'm awfully close to it all. I definitely have the experience. So I would say go after the jobs, the big jobs, and then work your way down. But you have to build the confidence. So some of that is just sending out that resume. Some of it is just hitting that submit button and going, I can't believe I just applied to a CEO or a director position or a leadership position.
Yeah.
And those things will help you
So
navigate
you
those
said-
waters so it's not so intimidating.
Awesome. Thank you for those three. For the person who knows they need financial protection but feels nervous about the conversation, what should they do first?
They should identify the nerves. They should take them on head. They should have those hard conversations. I think that hard conversations are the very stepping stones to some of the biggest accomplishments, achievements, and it'll make you feel better at the end of the day. I think sometimes when we don't have the conversation, we're burdened by needing to sleep on it again. So I would say the ones that are having that need to initiate, it can be as simple as, where do I get started? How do I get started? And those are the conversations, but we have to start using our voices. We have to start talking to people. We have to start navigating the uncomfortable water, because guess what? It's always new. It's always the first time until it's not. So that's very important to just have those conversations so that they can normalize it, make it normal. We're all in the same position.
Awesome. And for the woman who is questioning her confidence or her patterns or relationships, and what would you say to her? Questioning her confidence, her patterns, and her relationships.
Yeah, I mean, we all are. Even the most confident girl is standing in the mirror and affirming what she believes in herself. I will tell you that just from self experience and exploration and having conversations with different people, I know that the lack of confidence comes from within. If we could sit down and write down how many times people were really mean or said something that made us lack confidence, and we put ourselves in what we said to ourselves to lack the confidence, our list would be longer about the things that we have said about ourselves. And and day by day, right? Day by day, small wins, and that'll help you maneuver through is small wins. If it's whatever it is that you want to help yourself with, if it's speaking, guest speaking, or maybe presenting yourself differently, it's figuring out what that thing is that's taking your confidence from you, and then moving it down to a space that you can address and move past and get through and check it off your list. And check it off your list, because there's going to be one small axe that are going to help you get through some of those mountains that you think you can't move at all.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much. For
Very
the
much.
young professional, Nicole, trying to build a future but surrounded by distractions, what advice would you offer?
Yeah, stop being distracted. No, I would I would definitely, like I tell my students all the time, I say to them all the time, if your socials are more important, right? Your social media, you have to have a sector that is just as important for your brain, for your education, for your career development. So all of the fun stuff bucket is great to have, but you have to have another bucket. And that bucket has to be more disciplined. And you can use that in all different ways, with your athlete, to your academic star, to the kid who's trying to navigate waters and isn't maybe the most vibrant child that wants to just tell you all the great things that they're doing. You just want to be able to tell them to move through these experiences step by step. Take it step by step, but have a focus. And you have to have a focus. And it could be just a little focus. If it's just sports, sports is going to help you with your GPA. You're going to use certain outlets that make you happy, that bring you joy, and you're going to bring and scale those back into accomplishments that you're going to be able to achieve. But start. Yeah, but start.
And since we're on that, what is your I want to say take on career coaches being in the high schools and the middle schools all across this country? Is it a necessity, you think, or not?
Yeah, it's a necessity. It's a necessity because conversation is important. So it's a necessity. So when teachers aren't having or don't have the ability to have conversations because now we just need you to pass this test or we need you to get this data point done, then you have a career coach that's coming in on the other side and is going to you, how are we preparing you, right? How are we preparing you and what are you exploring? I think that there's that, the children who aren't being identified in classrooms, the career coach can very much so identify and see that there's a need, right? Maybe they're not moving through the classroom with as much confidence, but that, hey, I noticed that they like to draw, right? And they're over there just in their notebook, but what they're drawing is beautiful. Let me show them some careers that can help them navigate, that they have something special going on. So I think career coaches identify things that teachers don't have time to do. So I think it's important. And I also think that we give careers in industries that kids didn't even know that you could do. So there, we open up resources for them to go, that's a job. And I can go, that's a job. Like you can do that. You can get paid for that and do that. So I think we open up and we give them some more one-to-one focus on believing who they are and what they want to achieve. So I think it's a wonderful attribute that the schools are putting into.
Because we definitely also encourage internship and apprenticeship programs, right?
Absolutely.
Tell us about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's important because it's important that the community and that these employers are giving back anyways, and they're investing in the youth, right? So there's an investment there to be able to help. Kids get something to be rewarded and be able to work towards. So having those measures and knowing that those things are that they can accomplish or achieve those things. And I think a lot of it is exposure, right? These kids don't always, that demographic of listening to all those ships, right? All of those big words, right? May only reach a demographic of students who are able to handle that word. But we can come in and go, hey, I know no one's, let me make this word smaller for you. Let me make you understand what this word can do for you, right? And that it doesn't need to be an intimidating word. That, hey, these internships and these apprenticeships actually align with some of those things that you enjoy doing. Because again, these titles can be intimidating in their own, and kids won't, and people, adults, all of it, we will not address things that make us uncomfortable. We just won't.
I usually tell parents that where we are in Prince George's County, Maryland, there is organizations that support our youth in internship and apprenticeship programs. But a lot of people don't know in the various cities and counties that there are those same programs in your area. And I want parents to know that you need to encourage your child. If you know your child is a hands-on, think about apprenticeship programs. Not every child is going to end up in college. Not every child is going to go to the military. Apprentice programs are available, and trade and skills is very needed. And they could probably make more money than you in 2 years and not having to pay it back. Speak to us about that, Nicole.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, again, I'll go back and push on the parents, right? I'll push on the adults and the impact and what the conversations look like in the house, right? The opportunity. Because again, some of these things seem to be too good to be true. Or, maybe they're not going to qualify for those things. So we stop ourselves at the door before we even get there. So reaching out to the parents and letting them know that these things are attainable, right? That these are, and giving them the information. Because again, a lot of these conversations aren't happening because we don't have the information. We don't know as adults, right? Our parents told us 5 industries. We were going to be a teacher, a doctor, a firefighter, a police officer, right? Those were the things, but nobody told us in between time, that you can do an ROTC program, right? Or that there were different, or that you can go in the summertime and
certification programs.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I lost your audio.
Yep. So I think that the conversations are very important to I think it's important to talk to the parents, because you need the buy-in, right? The kids are going to come home very pumped up. Oh, I just got this great information from Coach Daniels, and she said that I can be right. And what's the next thing that can happen? Because if they don't have the vision, what are they going to do? I don't know, honey, how are you going to get there? So there become obstacles. We as adults put the pressures on what we've done, right? What only we can see. So
Yeah.
I think that we need to take a listen to the kids, right? To the youth. It's a wonderful thing. We need to stay close to the economy and how the world is moving, and what these abilities are, and understanding that, listen, college is wonderful, but college also leaves you with a loan. I also work with people who have college degrees, who've pivoted and aren't even working in the field that they graduated school from in college, right? So I
Yeah.
talk to people across the table all the time, and I go, what were your intentions by your master's degree? Now that you're $50,000 in student debt, and now you're not sure what this degree was even going to do. So it's more important about not just having the education, but why are we educating ourselves on it? What is the ultimate goal? And sometimes that trade school is going to take out the very thing that those kids think that maybe they weren't great at excelling in doing, right? I didn't like
Of course.
education. Who wants to sit inside
Yeah.
of a classroom, right? I don't want to go to more school now. But if I tell you, hey, you can go to a school and learn a trade, I can do that, coach. You can absolutely do that.
Yeah.
And you're
Get
right.
paid
And
while you
you're right,
learn.
DJ Quint. I was just getting ready to hit the nose. You get paid while you come out of school, you come out of that trade
Debt free.
having a certification, being able to work wherever you want, any state you want to work in. It's a trade that not many people can do, right? Because it's a sector, it's a demographic of people. So you have the ability to, yes. I mean, when our parents thought we couldn't make, right, we're making 2 times the amount of our parents and what our parents are making. I tell kids all the time, if you prepare early enough, you can make that same amount of money right out of your program, and they place
Yeah.
you in jobs. It's the confidence, it's the exposure, it's all of those things that have to work harmoniously. But I love the fact that the career coaches are in there, because we're bridging the gap. We're not just talking about the GPAs and the things that, and especially with some of our international students, they're not even looking at college, right? I work with a demographic of students who don't present that way, right? They
Mhm.
need to have resources so that they can give back, feel good about themselves as well. So it's important. We're needed.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Apprenticeship program, guys. Find it in your neck of the woods. Find
Yeah.
apprenticeship programs for your teenagers. Everybody's not going to end up in college. So please seek them out in your community, apprenticeship programs. Nicole, I think you did well. I think we're getting close to that time where we can wrap it up. And this
Perfect.
segment I call Lighting Rod.
Sure.
This is a lighting rod, lighting wrong, this kind of stuff. So one word that
Awesome.
describes your leadership style. What is it? One word. Give you
Adaptable.
one. Adaptable. Nice. That's a soft skill.
Hmm.
Adaptable. You are adaptable, Nicole. That means you can be a leader. You can be a team player. All of that and more.
Absolutely.
Adaptability is
Hmm.
awesome.
Yeah.
One skill. Thanks. One skill every professional should develop. One skill. What would that be? Your one
Hmm.
word answer. One skill every professional should develop. I want
Confidence.
some. Oh, I will take that. I will take that. If you want to
Confidence.
expound on it, I'll take you expounding. You want to expound on it?
Yeah, we're packing with education. We're walking into rooms already knowing. So I think that that's important. I think that we have the confidence and just being able to understand that we're stopping us from doing that and represent our best selves. It'll take you a lot farther than what you think.
Awesome. One money conversation families need to have more often.
Preparation.
Preparation.
Yeah.
Awesome. One sign that a person is growing, Nicole.
Silence.
Silence. Tell me
Hmm.
more.
Yeah, because I think when people are growing, they have the ability to listen more. I think when people are
Oh,
growing, they have the ability to be able to learn more by being more silent, and then being able to execute more appropriately. So I think that it's a great attribute. It's my secret weapon, to be honest. This is to sit back and just to be silent and listen, take in the world and what I get taught from everybody.
So what you call active listening, another soft skill, right?
There you
You would
go.
say that. Awesome.
Yes.
And then one limiting belief people need to realize. One limiting belief people need to realize. What would that be? A limiting belief.
Um, one limiting belief. I'm trying to figure this out in one word. One limiting belief. Um, I would say uncertainty, not
Hmm.
being sure. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think I can take that. Yeah, not being
hmm
sure. Yeah,
hmm
one thing confidence is not, Nicole. One thing confidence is not.
Loud.
It's not loud. Okay. Yeah.
hmm
Tell us more. Tell us more. I think I can learn from that. It's not loud. It's not boastful. It's not what?
No, it's not even over explaining. It's a
Hmm.
knowing. It's a knowing. Yeah. I think it's a knowing. And so
Hmm.
I think that most people lead with needing to say more. But I think there's a
Hmm.
lot of power in not saying the more, but saying less. I think there's a lot of power in that. So I think being able to have that balance um, can help you in a room, even when you don't know what to say. Guess
Hmm.
just don't say it. Stay quiet.
Well, that is one thing that confidence is not. So, what is one thing confidence is, Nicole?
One thing confidence is um, believing,
Okay.
understanding. Confidence is confidence is perspective. It's not always, yeah, it's not always what it looks like. It's not always what we think. It's not always what we portray even. Um, again, silence can be looked at as being unsure, while I
Hmm.
believe it's power. So it's just it depends on it's the perception. It depends on what your mind is telling you, what you
Awesome.
believed in. Yeah.
Hmm. And Nicole, now to you. One message that you, one piece of advice that you would give to your younger self, Nicole, your younger self. One piece of
Mm,
advice.
mm. You belong in the room.
You belong in the room. He
Yeah.
prepared a table before me in the presence of my enemy. So you ought to be there at the table, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I believe
Absolutely.
that.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Hmm.
You don't learn that
Sometimes,
until you get older
I,
though.
yeah, but sometimes we get it from the table too soon. Sometimes we
You
leave the
know.
room,
Yeah.
you know,
That's the truth.
out of having that imposter syndrome. We think we don't belong
Absolutely.
there. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, so I
Mhm.
belong in the room is what
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
what I would tell my younger self. Mhm.
Awesome. And I wonder self might say, yes, you do belong here.
Thank you.
Uh, one message you want women to hear through sis, please. One message.
Understand each other. Try to, right? Embrace each other. Um, take a minute before you ridicule or you check the boxes. Allow space. Give grace, you know? I think that I think that that's our part of our superpower is the nurturing side of us, and we should give it to one another. We should be able to
Mm,
not only share that, with outsiders, but be able to share that as sisters with one another. I think it's important.
awesome. And one last one for you, Nicole. One message you want families to hear about financial protection.
Start now, right? Start now. Have the conversation. Start slow. Start now, though. Um, be curious. Have the conversation. Educate yourself. If you don't want to have the conversation, use the device. Pick up the phone. Uh, get curious about some of the things that I stated. Challenge some of the things that were said. Um, more importantly, don't be afraid. Accept the help. See what it looks like. Explore what those things feel like when you can go to sleep and have the protection that you've been worrying about, the conversations you were unsure about. So start having the conversation.
Awesome. Nicole, tonight we have talked about career growth, workforce development, HR leadership, uh, financial education, life insurance, confidence, relationship, writing, speaking, and clarity. But when we bring it all together, I hear one consistent theme in your journey. You are helping people make better decisions because better decisions create better futures. And as we prepare to close, what is the one message you want to leave with our audience tonight? You know, we might never ask you all the questions here in this platform on Forefront today. And so, what message that you want to leave with our audience that you think the world ought to know? And what do you want people to remember about Nicole Daniels and the work that you are building?
Yeah, to be curious enough to ask the question, to be to understand that having a community and a collaboration with one another can change the direction and the trajectory of your life. Sharing in your hardships and sharing in your stories can connect all of us together. Exposing some of the things that you're afraid to talk about, the things that make you feel uncomfortable, or the very things that are going to set you free. I know that it sounds cliche, but having a community of people around you will help you and prepare you and give that space that feels like it's alone. It'll give it a little bit of air that we all need to have. So just getting back into community. So I hope that if there's one thing that you can remember and I leave you with tonight is that there are people who care about people, and focus on the people who care about people. Focus on the people who are like-minded, and challenge the assumption, challenge the thought process and your philosophies that you've had. Ask the questions, the good questions and the hard questions, but have somebody that you can reach out to, have somebody that you can talk to that can help prepare you for your future or help prepare you in life and be with you through the journey that we live day to day.
Awesome. People who might want you to come speak to their children, speak at their corporations, speak in their offices at a special event, how can they find you?
You can find me on email. You can find me on all of my socials were posted. You can find me on Instagram at Nicole Ann. All of my social handles are all by Nicole Ann. So you can find me on Instagram. You can also email me directly at official, that's kind of long, official.coleinc@gmail.com. That's another platform that you can reach out to me. And I also have a link tree. I am accessible by phone. So I welcome any kind of phone calls or text messages. So I'm very much so forward facing and serving the community. So there's definitely a way that that you can reach out to me. I'm definitely I'm here.
And you can travel nationally, right? All across this USA and even to
Yes,
Guyana, South America,
you
right?
got it. Yep, I'm
Yeah.
on the way. Yes, I'm on the way. Thank you so much for tonight. It was wonderful.
It's my pleasure. Thank you so much for joining us tonight on Forefront today, Nicole. And your journey reminds us that when we understand people, we serve them better. When we understand ourselves, we choose better. And when we gain clarity, we begin to move differently in our careers, relationships, finances, and purpose. To our audience, you are definitely phenomenal. Please connect with Nicole A. Daniels and follow her work. Instagram, she's at by NC by Nicole Ann. That is at by Nicole Ann. TikTok, she's on there too. Official, right? Official Nicole Ann. Official Nicole Ann and LinkedIn. You can find her there, Nicole Daniels, because I found her there at LinkedIn. So
Yep, on my
find her and
LinkedIn.
follow
Yeah.
her and definitely connect with her. Invite her to your school, to your various establishment, and she can definitely bring some nuggets that you can use in your establishment to make your job easy for you when people understand clarity and find themselves and know their value And by that, she add value to your establishment. So Nicole, once again, on behalf of Forefront today, thank you so much for coming on. And I hope to see you one day on TED Talk. Please send me the
Absolutely.
link when you're on there. And
I certainly will. You'll
best
be the
luck to
first to
you on
get
the
it.
speaking engagements.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much for inviting me
All
on
the
the
best
show
to
tonight.
you. Best regards to your family and our colleagues also.
Absolutely. Good night
Thank you
to you
so much.
all. Take care.
Blessings. All right, this is where we take our leave from the platform of Forefront today, CRL 365. We are on YouTube. You can find it CRL 365 on YouTube. Please find me there, like, love, subscribe. And thank you all for leaving your comments. Thank you, Rhonda Ben. Thank you, Maureen John. Abiola Harlequin. Thank you, Kelly Alderkin. Thank you so much, Deborah Wolf and Desiree Jordan. Thank you, Val Hines. And thank you, Laverne Vivos. Thank you, all of you who are silent listeners incognito. I feel your presence. This is where I say tata bye-bye for now. Please join me again and look for that notification on YouTube and on my Facebook page for the next episode where I bring storytelling to you right here. CRL 365, Forefront today. So until next time, please love yourselves and love each other, and make sure you choose kindness to be a lifestyle regardless. Have a good night, y'all. Thank you so much.
This is more than a show. This is a movement where real stories are told, where voices are heard and lives are changed. From struggle to strength, from pain to purpose. Forefront today, where voices rise, where truth is told, where purpose comes alive. I am DJ